Hey everybody, how's it going? Only a few days away, guys. Only a few days away. It is Sunday morning as of right now, and we are just a few days away from the draft. One of the most exciting times of the year for a football fan. And even though we only have three picks, it's exciting for us too. So I've spent a lot of time talking about the little finer details of this draft, who we should pick, who I want to pick, who this team might want to pick, etc. So in this video, we're gonna step way back and kind of look at things in a more overall sense and try to get an idea of what constitutes a successful draft. What would constitute a good 2021 draft class for the Seahawks? And I also kind of want to go over recent draft classes. In fact, I think last 8 draft classes for the Seattle Seahawks to kind of go over the issues that this team is having in the draft lately because lately people have been very eager to go out there and sing John Schneider's praises and to a certain extent Pete Carroll because of what they've done this offseason and the fact that they've managed to keep this team in the playoffs for 8 of the last 9 years, have I think 10 playoff wins over the last 9 years. The overall results are really good, but that fact is kind of at contrast with what this team has done over the last 8 years in the draft. It's very unusual for a team to do what we've done in the draft over the last 8 years and remain so successful. And I say successful relatively in that we've made the playoffs every year except one. We've won like 3 playoff games over the last 4 years or 6 years, I think. I can't remember exactly, but it's something like that. So we're going to talk about what would constitute a successful draft, and we're going to take a look at our recent drafts so I can kind of qualify why it's so important that we start turning this around. Because at the end of the day, you can be great in free agency, you can be great with your contracts you hand out, you can be great with your extensions, but if you do not draft well, it is really hard to stay on top. The draft is where a football team can dictate better than any other time their ability to get to the top or stay on top. So if you do not draft well, all that other stuff you're doing is eventually going to not matter as much because the bad drafting will catch up to you. So let's take a look at the 8 most recent draft classes for the Seahawks. Now, the way that I look at the draft process is in order to have a decent draft, you need to get 4 contributors out of that class. 2 of them should probably be studs, and 2 of them should be decent contributors, guys who maybe they never become Pro Bowlers, maybe they only play for your team for half a decade, but they make a positive contribution. In a full draft class, you should be getting 2 studs and 2 solid contributors. We've had draft classes in the past that had way more than that. 2010 through 2012. But in order to kind of at least maintain your quality of play as a team, you need to be hitting on at least 4 picks per draft, I would expect, most of the time. So 2013, we did not have a full draft class, but let's take a look here. 2013, we did not have our first round pick because of the Percy Harvin trade. Okay, so the standard has to get pulled back a little bit, and maybe you're saying, okay, bring me 3 contributors and let one of them be a stud. I'll live with that. We don't have a first round pick. It's a little harder. But we do have a lot of late round picks, so maybe you're saying, okay, give me 1 stud and 3 contributors. And look at this draft class. Christian Michael, he barely did anything. Jordan Hill had like 8 good games, and then we never saw him again. No. Chris Harper, no. Jesse Williams. Their old Simon had a few good games, and then he basically disappeared. Luke Wilson's the best player in this draft class, and he started a handful of games and had a handful of catches over the years. Like, he was a solid contributor, kind of, but that's it. Spencer Ware did nothing for this team. Ryan Seymour, Ty Powell, Jared Smith, Michael Bowie, these guys did nothing for us. Spencer Ware went to Kansas City and had a decent couple seasons, but no, nothing. So this draft class, we got 1 decent contributor out of the whole class. We took 11 players, And the only guy we got anything real out of was Luke Wilson. And Luke Wilson was never a top 30 tight end in the NFL. Okay, 2014. We've got a full draft class this time. We have our first round pick. We traded out of the first round, as we are wont to do, but we had a full slate of picks. So let's take a look here. Okay, Paul Richardson, he had a couple pretty decent years with the Seahawks, had issues staying healthy, but he had at least one really nice season for us. Justin Britt, he gave us a few good years at center. Cassius Marsh, I guess he had one decent year. Kevin Norwood, no. Kevin Pierre-Louis, not really. He was an okay special teamer, I guess. And I think that was after he came back, after leaving for Kansas City. Jimmy Staten, no, no, no. Okay, yeah. So we kind of have like two decent contributors at the top of the draft. No studs, nobody with any real staying power except for Britt. And by the end of Britt's stay in Seattle, he was arguably a kind of detrimental to the team. He wasn't playing that well. Yeah, okay. So we kind of got two solid contributors and no studs from a full draft class. 2015, okay. We did not have a full draft this year. We had 8 picks total and no first round picks. So, all right, the standard drops a little bit. Give me one stud, give me two solid contributors, and we'll go from there. Okay. Frank Clark, great. He took a year to get going, but once he got going, he was a really good defensive end. He was a Pro Bowl caliber player. Tyler Lockett was immediately an impact player in the NFL and has continued to be one of the most important pieces to our success over the last half decade. So Tyler Lockett, yeah, that was a good pick. And then we hit the circle of suck. Terry Poole, nothing. Mark Lewinsky, I think he went to the Colts and started playing pretty good, but nothing here. Ty Smith, no. Obum Gwacham, no. Soloki, yeah, I don't even know who some of these guys are, and I follow this team really closely. So, um, yeah, okay. Now, if you want to roll Thomas Rawls into this draft class, because Thomas Rawls gave us like a season and a half of quality running back play, then this draft class becomes okay because you did get the two studs at the top, Clark and Lockett, and you did that without having a first round pick. This is the closest thing I can find to a decent draft class in recent years, but it's at best it's good. It's not very good, it's not great, it's not franchise altering, it's just good at best. The fact that you get nothing from the fourth round on, and I do mean nothing, is ugly. So, okay, 2015, we're headed in the right direction. We actually had a at least decent draft class. 2016, we've got a full slate of picks again. We've got our first round pick, we've got 3 third rounders, got 2 fifths, got 2 sevenths, we got 10 picks, and we have our first rounder. No excuse. Pull me 2 studs from this draft and 2 solid contributors or GTFO. Jermaine Ifedi, never really was good. I guess he had one pretty decent year in 2018, but all he did was play. He played, he started a bunch of games, but he was not good. Jerron Reed, I'll give Jerron Reed his due. He had a good career in Seattle. We've moved on now, obviously. Gave us a good, 5 years? Good player. Never great. Never, maybe he had one year where he was a genuine stud, but other than that, he was just a very good role player. CJ Procise, like 3 good games. Nick Vanette, role player at best. Odiambo, no. Quentin Jefferson, okay. That's all right. I guess he gave us one pretty good year, maybe two. Alex Collins, he didn't do anything here until like after coming back from Baltimore. Joey Hunt, no. Kenny Lawler, no. Zach Brooks, no. Yeah. Where are the studs, guys? Where are the guys who are going to be the driving force behind this team being great? I'm not seeing them. I'm not seeing any studs in here. The closest we have is Jerron Reed, and Jerron Reed was never a Pro Bowl caliber player. He had one really good year, mostly because of Frank Clark's dominance, and that's it. I like Jerron Reed, but I'm not seeing the studs, and I'm honestly barely seeing the solid role players, the solid contributors. Quentin Jefferson, Fetty, I guess. Like, another bad draft class. And we had our full slate of picks this time around. Okay, let's plow on. 2017. No comment on the top pick here, but Hey, this is another draft class. We had all our picks. We had a first rounder. We had 11 picks total. No excuse to not pull out two studs and two solid contributors. No comment on Malik McDowell. You guys know. We all know. Posick, jury's still out to a certain extent, but as far as his rookie contract went, we didn't get much of a return on investment. I think it was our fault more than his fault, but either way. Now, I'll give Shaquille Griffin his props. He was a late third round pick, and he gave us two decent years and two really good years at corner. I appreciate what Shaq did. He was borderline stud in a couple of his seasons, and he was at least a decent contributor in the other two. So I'll give Shaq his credit. Um, Delano Hill, no. Nazir Jones, he flashed in a couple games and then nothing. Amara Darbo, no, not really. Tedrick Thompson, Mike Tyson, no. Justin Senior. And then we hit in the last two picks, the seventh round. Okay. Okay, we're turning the ship around a little bit, maybe. David Moore had a few decent years for Seattle before moving on to Carolina. He helped. He helped over the last 3 years. I think he was a pretty decent player for us. And Carson's a stud. Okay, so this draft class is okay, I guess. We got the stud in Carson. We got a semi stud in Shaq Griffin. David Moore was a quality contributor. Posick. Uh, it just kind of leaves you like this is the best we can do, but it's not bad. It might maybe it's even a little better than average. I don't know if it's good. So that's another draft class where you're just kind of at best shrugging your shoulders. Uh, okay, 2018. Rashad Penny. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but we should not have used a pick on Rashad Penny. No, just no. I think we all understand by now that Rashad Penny was a bad use of a first round pick, even if he is a good player. And I think that he is, but no, just no. Um, yeah, and by the way, Rashad Penny was a first round pick, so we had our full slate of picks in this draft. We had 9 picks total. We had a bunch in the fifth round. We had four fifth round picks this draft. And yeah, no excuse to not have a good draft given the fact that you have your full slate of picks. Rasheem Green, again, not saying he's a bad player, but 3 years in, he hasn't really done anything or not done a lot. I like Rasheem Green. I give him a chance, but you snooze, you lose. And 3 years in, he just hasn't done enough to prove anything. Will Disley, he's been solid. His your best ability is your availability, and if that's true, then Will Disley has very poor ability. But I guess we're getting decent value for a fourth round pick. Shaquem Griffin, nah. Trey Flowers, I'll give it to Trey. We got good value here in the fifth. Dixon, good pick, good contributor, but punter's gonna punt. Jamarco Jones, I guess for a fifth round pick, he could do worse. Jacob Martin, he did a little bit before we traded him. Alex Magoo, I like Magoo, but he's hasn't gotten on the field yet. So once again, we're just seeing this collection of quality contributors. I'll tip my cap to these guys. Most of these guys have proven to be decent NFL players. Dixon looks like one of the best punters in the league for whatever that's worth, which is not much. But yeah, I'm not seeing the studs. None of these guys look like studs to me except Dixon, and he's a punter who gives a rat's ass. Okay? All right. Now, I've been told, and it's been said many times, that you need 3 years to evaluate a draft class. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But let's take a look at the last two draft classes before we get out of here. All right, 2019, we have our full slate of picks. We've got more than a full slate of picks. We have two second rounders. We actually had two first rounders going into this draft. We have three fourth rounders. We have a third round. This is a full slate of picks. You should come out of this draft class fist pumping with all the potential you got. And what do we have? Okay, well, DK Metcalf's a stud. We already know that. DK Metcalf, it looks like one of the best receivers in the league already. So, okay, we finally got ourselves a no holds barred stud. Other than that, I think LJ Collier will never live up to his first round draft status. I think he's going to be a solid contributor, and I'll give him that much. Marquise Blair, I think he can be a good player in this league. I don't think it's going to be here because Carroll doesn't like him. That's how I feel about it right now. Amadi, I like Amadi. I don't know if he's ever going to be a stud, but I think he can be a quality nickel corner, and I could be underestimating him a little bit. So I'm seeing some decent pieces in this draft. Cody Barton's good on special teams at the least, and I'm not completely writing him off yet. But then you've got Phil Haynes. I don't think he's ever really going to get on the field for us at this point. Gary Jennings Jr. Oh yeah, that was a great pick. Remember that one? Ben Burkervin, special teamer. Travis Homer, fourth string running back at best. Maybe a decent third down back. We'll find out more this year, but I'm not seeing it. Demarcus Christmas, no. John Ursua, no. Yeah, okay. So we got the one stud finally, but with all the picks we had in this draft class, you got to do better. You got to pull a couple of studs at least, and you got to pull like three or four quality contributors. And our quality contributors in this draft, like one of them is LJ Collier. I'm sorry, you can't spend a first round pick on somebody who's just going to be a quality contributor. It's not good enough. So yeah, another disappointing draft class. Now we go to last year, and it's too early. It really is. It's too early. Jordan Brooks played pretty good as a rookie, I think. Damian Lewis had a great rookie year. Alton Robinson had a really good rookie year, given what I was expecting from him. I'm going to give Freddie Swain a chance to prove he belongs in the NFL. Darrell Taylor, I still like. Colby and DJ, they belong on an NFL roster, but I don't know if they have a role doing anything really in the NFL. Sullivan's already gone. Um, this draft class has a chance. I'll go that far. Jordan Brooks has a chance to be that stud, a linebacker who starts for us for over a decade. Damian Lewis has a chance to be a stud. And Alton Robinson, Freddie Swain, Darrell Taylor, I think they have a chance to be really good too. So this class has a chance, it's just too early. So what I'm trying to get at here is that we have limited ammo going into this 2021 class. We have three picks, and the first pick doesn't come until the back end of the second round, and then our next pick doesn't come until day three. We have one pick on day two and zero picks in day one. So that being the case, we, I think, need to have the right standard for what will constitute a successful 2021 draft. So I'm going to say this. Give me two guys. Just give me two guys from this draft class, and I'll give credit where credit is due. Give me one stud or borderline stud from this draft class, somebody who becomes a borderline Pro Bowler for this team, and then give me one guy who can hang around on the roster and make decent contributions, like a David Moore or a Jeremy Lane before he got hurt. Do that, and I'll finally have a positive review of a Seahawks draft class. It's been a while since we really had one of those. So this is why we need to start turning this around, guys. How many lackluster draft classes in a row can this team survive? The reason why this team has survived over the last 8 years, despite really having like one above average draft, is we're getting carried by the guys we got before this run of drafts. Wilson, Wagner. Those two guys have probably done the most for the Seahawks over the last few years, and they were drafted almost a decade ago. Um, we're getting a lot from guys like Dwayne Brown, who we acquired via trade. We're getting a lot from guys who, well, at first it was Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman, but they've been gone for the last several years. Earl Thomas was also there for a long time. And if this does not swing the other way in the next year, then it's going to slip away. You cannot keep drafting like this and expect things to be okay. And again, this year I understand we don't really have a lot of draft capital. So I'm going to say bring me two good players from this class, one future stud, one future solid contributor, and I think that will be enough. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. This was like a quick review of our last 8 years of draft classes, and I just wanted to emphasize the urgency on having some good draft classes. Last year looked like we might be headed in the right direction because we've got some guys in there who might really do it for us. But It needs to continue on with this year, even with limited picks. So peace out. Go Hawks. See you guys later. There will be another video later today. Streams later. We're almost there, guys. So exciting. Almost there.